In the stillness of dawn, when the desert wind whispers across the ancient sands of Egypt, one could almost hear the faint echoes of something buried, not just beneath the earth, but beneath human memory itself. For centuries, archaeologists, adventurers, and dreamers have combed through the ruins of once great civilizations, believing they had uncovered all there was to find. Temples were mapped, tombs cataloged, and treasures displayed behind glass. Yet for every chamber open to the world, another remains sealed in silence, hidden under layers of stone and secrecy. It is as if the ancients wanted to be remembered, but not fully understood. Beneath the monuments that define our understanding of history lies an invisible network of spaces untouched for thousands of years, spaces that may still pulse with the breath of those who built them. The story begins with the oldest of questions. What did our ancestors fear so deeply that they buried their secrets within unmarked walls? The Great Pyramid, the ziggurats of Sumer, the megalithic temples of Malta, each hides anomalies, voids, or sealed doorways. We see only the surfaces they left us, their outer shells, but not the living heart of what they once contained. Modern explorers speak of complete excavation, yet ground-penetrating scans and infrared imaging reveal unseen hollows within familiar ruins. It is as if the earth itself holds its breath, refusing to release what lies within. The known history of these sites tells us they were tombs or shrines, places of reverence or burial. The hidden truth suggests something more, a deliberate act of concealment meant to outlast time itself. Every great civilization built its monuments not only to be seen, but to endure. What is rarely discussed is that endurance often required secrecy. The ancients understood that power could not survive exposure. Some chambers were sealed not to protect what was inside, but to protect the world from it. Inscriptions warn of divine wrath for those who enter uninvited. Engineers constructed deceptive corridors, false doors, and untraceable locks, all designed to mislead intruders. To the untrained eye, these are architectural curiosities. To those who listen more closely, they are messages, deliberate barriers separating two worlds, the one above, of sunlight and memory, and the one below, of darkness and forgetting. The earliest explorers enter these sacred ruins often describe sensations beyond fear, a pressure in the air, an unshakable sense of being watched. Many never returned. Those who did often spoke in riddles, unable to explain what they saw. Over time, such accounts became legends. The curse of the pharaohs, the haunted vaults of Babylon, the sealed sanctuaries of forgotten gods. Modern science dismissed these as superstition. Yet the warnings persist, etched into stone and whisper across generations. Could it be that the ancients encoded a truth we have yet to decipher? That their chambers were not mere tombs, but repositories of something humanity was never meant to awaken? Today, with every technological leap, we peer deeper into the earth than ever before. Lasers map underground cavities, drones descend into inaccessible tunnels, and algorithms reconstruct structures never seen by human eyes. Yet with every discovery comes a strange discomfort, the sense that we are trespassing upon something sacred. What if these unentered rooms were never meant to be opened? What if the ancients built them not for the dead, but for the living of a distant future? Us? The chambers may have been warnings, time capsules, or even traps, waiting for a generation curious enough to seek them out. As we journey through this documentary, we will move beyond the surface of history, into the shadows beneath it, from the sealed voids of Giza to the labyrinths beneath forgotten temples, from the frozen catacombs under ice to the forbidden vaults beneath holy cities. Each chamber tells part of a larger story. It is a story of human ambition, of the relentless pursuit of knowledge, and of the terrifying awareness that some knowledge comes at a cost. The walls of these chambers have not merely survived millennia. They have chosen silence over exposure, endurance over revelation. What they contain may not only reshape history, it may redefine humanity's relationship with its own past. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not how these secret chambers were built, but why they remain sealed. Every unopened door is a question mark carved into stone. Every hidden passage is a whisper from those who came before, asking, will you dare to look inside? In this world of discovery and disbelief, of science and myth, the most profound truths may not be found in what we uncover, but in what we are still forbidden to see. Long before the rise of modern nations and empires, Humanity's first builders began shaping not just monuments for worship, but puzzles for eternity. Beneath layers of carved stone and sacred geometry, they had something few have ever understood: the idea that power and protection could coexist within silence. Historians call this the dawn of organized civilization, but within the dust of their earliest creations lies another truth. These people did not only build upward, toward gods and heavens, they built inward, toward secrecy. Across the floodplains of the Nile, the deserts of Mesopotamia, and the fertile valleys of the Indus, there emerged an era of construction defined not by grandeur alone, but by what it refused to reveal. Hidden rooms, blind corridors, and sealed vaults became the quiet language of divinity. Mainstream archaeology teaches us that these hidden chambers were meant for ritual storage, burials, or symbolic passageways into the afterlife. Yet the deeper we look, the more deliberate these spaces appear. Some have no entrances, no inscriptions, no decorative purpose at all. Only smooth, featureless walls, as if they were never meant to be found. In Egypt, workers shaped limestone blocks with such precision that even a hairline could not slip between them. Beneath those stones lie hollow spaces that instruments detect, but humans have never entered. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats were built with inner sanctums accessible only to high priests, their contents never recorded. In the Indus Valley, archaeologists have uncovered buildings with sealed wells and buried chambers whose functions defy every known cultural pattern. What connects them all is a shared design philosophy, a belief that some things must be hidden not because they are trivial, but because they are too significant to be known. To the ancient mind, concealment was not deception. It was reverence. A secret chamber was not meant to trick intruders. It was meant to communicate with eternity. Builders aligned their hidden spaces to stars, solstices, or sacred geometries that mirrored celestial patterns. The Great Pyramid shafts, the ziggurats' hidden cores, the Indus sanctuary subterranean wells, all appeared in codes something cosmic. Archaeologists see technical mastery. Ancient astronomers might have seen portals between worlds. What we label hidden architecture may in truth be an attempt to anchor the infinite within a material, a way of preserving divine order beneath the chaos of time. Over generations, this craft of concealment evolved into a language of stone. Each civilization borrowed from its predecessor, but refined the art in secrecy. In Egypt, the builders of Saqqara and Giza mastered decoy passages to protect their inner rooms. In Mesopotamia, sacred relics were encased in mud brick vaults beneath temples, surrounded by ritual offerings to deter desecration. In the Indus region, city planners integrated hidden drainage systems and sealed compartments that appear to have symbolic meaning beyond utility. These were not accidental features. They were part of a broader philosophy, the idea that sacred knowledge was not for everyone, only for those who could earn it. The world above represented the known. The chambers below embodied the unknowable. Yet what drove this impulse to hide? Some scholars believe it was fear of invaders, of theft, of defilement. Others argue it was hope, that by sealing sacred knowledge, they ensured its survival for future ages. There's evidence of deliberate preservation. Scrolls buried beneath temple floors, statues encased within walls, relics positioned so precisely that sunlight would never reach them. This was not the work of accident or superstition. It was a conscious effort to control what humanity could access and when. Every sealed door was a choice, a decision made by people who believed the balance between power and wisdom required silence. Modern excavation often unearths these chambers half destroyed, their contents scattered or missing. What remains are traces, niches carved with obsessive precision, walls thickened to conceal cavities, doorways that lead nowhere. When examined through the lens of ancient philosophy, these choices form a narrative. They tell us that civilization's progress was never linear. For every public temple or monument, there was an equal and opposite creation. Something built for secrecy, designed not to reveal but to protect. The same people who carved open-air altars also built underground sanctuaries. The same masons who celebrated the gods in sunlight hid their most sacred works in total darkness. And yet, as centuries passed, the reasons for this secrecy faded from collective memory. When later civilizations stumbled upon these hidden chambers, they interpreted them as tombs or treasure vaults. But what if they were not built to preserve the dead, but to preserve the living? What if these sealed spaces held technologies, scriptures, or energies that earlier societies considered too potent to expose? The contrast between known history and hidden truth becomes clearest here. Archaeologists call them burial chambers. Myths call them houses of life. Where one sees dust and decay, another sees containment, a boundary between human hands and divine knowledge. The age of hidden rooms was not a single historical period. It was a mindset, a shared understanding among the world's first great builders that some mysteries could not survive exposure. Across continents, cultures that never met each other somehow agreed on the same architectural instinct: to hide, to seal, to protect. Whether through divine inspiration or ancestral memory, they built more than monuments. They built messages. Each chamber, each sealed passage, each layer of stone became a statement whispered across millennia. Not everything sacred is meant to be seen. In this realization, our exploration begins. For every ancient chamber revealed by modern science, there may be 10 more buried in silence, waiting beneath shifting sands and forgotten soil. These rooms are not merely remnants of the past. They are time capsules of intent, designed to endure human forgetfulness. The deeper we dig, the more we must ask ourselves, are we uncovering history or violating its last offense? The answer lies somewhere between the stones, in the narrow darkness where human curiosity meets ancient caution, where knowledge itself was hidden away to survive the ages. For centuries, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood as both a marvel and a mystery, an enigma stone that seems to defy time itself. It has been measured, mapped, photographed, and studied in ways no other monument on Earth has. Yet despite generations of exploration, one truth remains undeniable. The pyramid is not fully known. Deep within its massive core lies a hollow space, a dark cavity that modern scientists have detected but never seen. They call it the void. It is a chamber untouched since the pyramid's creation, sealed for over 4,000 years. To the scientific community, it is a structural anomaly. To seekers of the unknown, it may be the unopened heart of the world's oldest surviving wonder. The Great Pyramid, officially the tomb of Pharaoh Khufu, was built around 2560 BCE. Rising nearly 500 feet above the Giza Plateau, it was constructed from over 2 million limestone blocks, each weighing several tons. Traditional history tells us it was designed as a royal burial site, an architectural expression of divine power and eternal life. But beneath the textbook explanations, questions persist. Why does the pyramid contain so few inscriptions compared to other Egyptian tombs? Why are there passages leading nowhere and shafts that open into darkness? If this monument was simply a tomb, why does it behave like a machine, one calibrated to astronomical precision, aligned perfectly with the stars? In 2017, scientists using cosmic ray imaging detected something extraordinary. Deep above the Grand Gallery, a steep internal passageway, they found a previously unknown void roughly 30 meters long. This was not a minor cavity or crack. It was a chamber large enough to hold a jet aircraft. The news rippled across the world. Egyptologists called it an interesting architectural discovery, perhaps a relieving space to prevent collapse. But others were not so sure. The void's exact location corresponds eerily with ancient accounts of the Chamber of the Sky, a hidden room said contained records of creation, the blueprint of civilization itself. Throughout history, explorers have searched for such chambers within the Great Pyramid. In the 19th century, British archaeologist Wayman Dixon discovered 2 mysterious air shafts leading from the Queen's chamber. They were sealed at both ends, serving no ventilation purpose. One of these contained a small copper hook, a granite ball, and a piece of cedar wood, objects that seemed ritualistic rather than practical. Later studies revealed that these shafts point directly to specific stars, Sirius and Orion's belt, both associated with God of resurrection and cosmic order. To the ancient Egyptians, alignment with the heavens was no coincidence. It was communication. The pyramid was not only a tomb, it was a message to the stars, encoded in stone. Modern researchers continue to argue over the void's nature. Structural engineers insist it's an accidental gap created by shifting stones. Yet the precision with which it sits, symmetrical, aligned with internal geometry, makes randomness unlikely. Infrared scans also reveal unusual temperature fluctuations in that area, as if something beneath the surface generates residual energy. Could this cavity house mechanisms, or relics, designed to interact with cosmic forces, as some theorists claim? Or is it a symbolic space, a deliberate emptiness representing the journey of the soul through darkness toward light? Ancient Egyptian texts refer to hidden rooms, where the sky speaks to the earth. These were spaces where priests performed rituals to sustain the pharaoh's spirit after death, bridging the mortal and divine realms. If such a chamber exists within the Great Pyramid, it may be more than ceremonial. Some researchers propose it was used to harness natural energies, vibrations of sound, magnetism, or resonance that ancient engineers somehow understood. The pyramid's internal passages have acoustic properties so precise that sound waves echo in patterns resembling harmonic frequencies. Could this design have been intentional, transforming the entire structure into a resonant instrument meant to activate something within its hidden heart? Yet every step toward discovery meets resistance. Egyptian authorities have long forbidden physical intrusion into the void, fearing damage to the monument. Officially, it is a matter of preservation. Unofficially, it fuels speculation. What are they protecting? Some believe the cavity may contain artifacts older than Egypt itself, remnants of a lost civilization that predated the pharaohs. Others whisper that the space is not empty at all, but holds something dangerous, biological, energetic, or spiritual. Legends speak of a curse surrounding those who disturb the pyramid's innermost secrets. Even Napoleon Bonaparte, after spending a night alone inside, reportedly emerged pale and shaken, refusing to speak of what he experienced. What makes the Great Pyramid's secret so haunting is not what we know, but what we feel. The structure radiates an intelligence beyond its time, as if built by those who understood both the mathematics of the cosmos and the psychology of awe. The void at its center becomes a mirror for humanity's greatest question. Are we alone in our knowledge, or merely inheritors of something much older? The sealed chamber may not simply contain relics. It may contain proof that ancient builders encoded wisdom far surpassing modern understanding. The contrast between known history and hidden truth could not be sharper. To the world, the Great Pyramid is a relic of the past, a monument to a dead king. But to those who listen deeper, it is a living structure, still performing the purpose it was built for. Its unopened heart waits, patient and silent, holding within the answer to a riddle carved in stone. That true power is not in what we reveal, but in what we preserve. Perhaps the ancients sealed the void not to hide a treasure, but to protect a truth, one that humanity is not yet ready to face. In every ancient civilization, there existed a quiet fear that the act of creation demanded a price. Builders, artisans, and priests who worked on sacred structures believed they were not just constructing monuments, they were binding the mortal world to the divine. To disturb such places after their completion was to tear through that fragile bond. Across the sand of Egypt, the hills of Persia and plains of Anatolia, warnings were etched in stone. May death come on swift wings to he who enters here. To modern eyes, these are poetic flourishes or superstitions. To the ancients, they were covenants. They were contracts between gods and mortals, meant to protect what was never meant to be seen again. This belief gave rise to the chilling idea that some places, once sealed, must remain untouched for the sake of both the living and the dead. When tombs and temples were first unearthed in the 19th and 20th centuries, explorers dismissed such inscriptions as primitive fear tactics. Yet patterns began to emerge. Teams who disturbed untouched burial chambers often met with sudden illness, madness, or death. The case of Tutankhamun's tomb is perhaps the most famous. Within a month of its opening, several members of the excavation team died under strange circumstances: blood poisoning, infections, unexplained fevers. Newspapers called it the curse of the pharaohs, a phrase that would soon become legend. Scientists later explained these deaths through the presence of ancient mold or bacteria sealed in the tomb for millennia. But others argued that the phenomenon was far older and far more deliberate, a continuation of the builder's warnings, not as superstition, but as consequence. Ancient records across multiple cultures speak of protective forces bound to sacred spaces. In Mesopotamia, priests invoked watchers of the threshold, invisible entities said to guard temples and archives. In Persia, builders carved sigils meant to repel intruders with blindness or madness. In Anatolia, tomb inscriptions called upon underworld deities to consume the souls of desecrators. These curses were not random threats. They were formulas, specific incantations written in sacred language. Modern researchers have studied the mathematical precision of such inscriptions, suggesting that ancient priests encoded frequencies or geometries that might have had physical effects on those who trespassed. In this sense, the curse may not have been mythic at all, but scientific, in a form now lost to time. Yet there is another layer to these fears. Many ancient sites were believed to contain living spirits, entities that could not be destroyed but only contained. The chambers, therefore, acted as prisons, holding something that could not be allowed to escape. This belief appears repeatedly in Egyptian and Persian mythology. In the Book of the Dead, references to the darkness that devours the heart of men may allude to sealed chambers containing relics of immense power. In Persian Zoroastrianism, forbidden vaults beneath fire temples were said to contain fragments of fallen stars, cosmic remnants capable of corruption. These texts may be allegorical, yet their consistency across time suggests a shared understanding that knowledge and power, once embodied, must be hidden away to preserve balance. Even among the builders themselves, whispers of fear surrounded these creations. Legends tell of architects who vanished after completing royal tombs, their names erased from records. Some stories claim they were executed to protect the secrecy of inner designs. Others say they chose exile, burdened by what they had seen. Whether historical or symbolic, these tales reflect an enduring truth, that those who constructed the sacred chambers knew they were playing with forces beyond comprehension. They were not merely laborers. They were participants in a ritual of silence. Their fear became the foundation upon which these monuments still stand. When viewed through modern eyes, this obsession with curses may seem irrational, yet psychology tells us that belief is power. For the ancients, the curse was not about punishing intruders. It was about enforcing reverence. It reminded the living that some boundaries must never be crossed. The curse, in this sense, was an early form of sacred law, binding humanity to humility before the unknown. But if these inscriptions were merely symbolic, why do so many sites, from Egypt to Anatolia, show signs of intentional traps, secret doors, or mechanical barriers designed to kill or mislead intruders? In one Anatolian tomb, a corridor lined with false walls concealed a pit filled with sharp stakes. In another, the door mechanism was rigged to collapse under tampering. These are not myths, they are engineering. The curse, then, was not only spiritual but physical, a tangible reminder that secrecy was to be defended at all costs. Modern exploration often reawakens these same patterns. Archaeologists report unease, sleeplessness, even hallucinations when working near sealed chambers. Some describe sudden electrical interference, compasses spinning erratically, or inexplicable drops in temperature. Science attributes these effects to environmental factors, trapped gases, electromagnetic minerals, or low oxygen levels. But for those standing in the presence of walls untouched for thousands of years, the rational explanation feels hollow. Something in these places resists intrusion, as if the ancient builders succeeded too well in guarding their secrets. There's an unsettling possibility beneath it all, that the ancients were not simply superstitious, but aware of principles modern science has yet to rediscover. Perhaps they understood resonance, vibration, or chemical preservation at a level we can barely comprehend. A curse, then, could be a coded system, biological, acoustic, or energetic, triggered by intrusion. Even the architecture itself may play a role. The precise alignment of chambers, the type of stone used, the sealed air, all could create conditions hostile to human interference. What we call myth might simply be forgotten technology wrapped in fear. The curse of the builders, therefore, was never a single event or a story meant to frighten children. It was a legacy, an inheritance passed down from the world's first architects, warning us that every act of creation requires a guardian. Whether those guardians were supernatural or scientific, the result is the same. Chambers sealed not only with stone, but with intention. The ancients did not build for discovery. They built for endurance. Their warnings were not meant to stop the curious, only to test their resolve. And so, thousands of years later, we continue to face the same choice the builders left behind. To open what was never meant to be opened is to challenge the order they believed sustained the world. Maybe the curse is not a punishment at all, but reflection, The echo of ancient wisdom reminding us that curiosity, when unrestrained, becomes its own undoing. In this, the curse still lives, not in the dust of the tombs, but in the hearts of those who dare to disturb them. For generations, the Sahara Desert has been portrayed as an endless sea of emptiness, a wasteland of dunes and silence stretching farther than the human eye can see. Yet beneath this golden desolation, something ancient stirs. Modern satellite imaging, equipped with radar capable of penetrating layers of sand, has revealed massive geometric anomalies buried deep below the surface. These structures do not resemble natural formations. Their lines are straight, their angles precise, their symmetry too deliberate to be the work of wind and time. Some appear to stretch for miles, as if vast complexes, temples, corridors, or storage vaults, lie entombed beneath a world that forgot they ever existed. What history calls barren may, in truth, be the resting place of humanity's oldest secrets. The Sahara was not always a desert. Thousands of years ago, it was lush, a land of rivers, forests, and civilizations that have since vanished without trace. Archaeologists have long known of scattered ruins on its edges, but the latest scans suggest something far more significant buried within its heart. Near the region of the Gilf Kabir Plateau in the Libyan desert, scientists have detected underground cavities connected in patterns resembling ancient city layouts. Official reports describe them cautiously as subsurface anomalies. But among researchers who study forbidden archaeology, whispers grow louder. These could be the remnants of an advanced civilization erased by time and climate. In 2023, a joint European research team conducted high-resolution ground-penetrating radar studies across several locations near Egypt's western border. What they found challenged conventional geology. Beneath layers of sediment, they detected rectangular voids aligned with magnetic north, a pattern impossible to occur naturally. One of the formations measured nearly 800 meters long and 300 wide, with corridors branching off like the wings of an underground palace. The scientists proposed it could be an ancient aquifer or natural cavern system. But others, reviewing the same data, noticed something uncanny. The structure mirrored the layout of known temple complexes from the Old Kingdom period, only far larger and completely buried. If these shapes were indeed man-made, how old could they be? Some geologists estimate the Sahara began its desertification around 6,000 years ago, which means any civilization predating that would have lived during the so-called Green Sahara period, a time when this region supported lakes, animals, and thriving human settlements. Ancient Egyptian texts mention a land of the ancestors west of the Nile, where knowledge and gods first descended. Could these hidden chambers belong to that lost land? Mainstream historians dismiss such connections as myth, arguing that no advanced civilization existed in the Sahara before Egypt's rise. But myths have a strange way of surviving facts. The more we uncover, the more they begin to sound like history retold through memory. Some of the anomalies appear close to known prehistoric rock art sites, such as the Cave of the Swimmers, famous for its ancient depictions of people floating in water, evidence that this arid land was once fertile. Nearby, magnetic scans show unusual distortions in the ground, as if vast stone blocks or metallic materials lie buried beneath. Archaeologists explain these readings as mineral deposits, but a growing number of researchers suspect otherwise. They point to similar findings in the deserts of Saudi Arabia and Mauritania. Long, rectangular hollows beneath dunes that align perfectly with celestial coordinates. Across continents, the same pattern emerges. Chambers or tunnels built according to astronomical principles, sealed before recorded history. If these truly are man-made vaults, what could they have been built to contain? The desert is an ideal hiding place. Over millennia, shifting sands can bury entire cities, preserving them in near-perfect isolation. Some theorists believe these chambers may hold the remnants of a pre-dynastic civilization, one with technologies or knowledge lost to humanity's collective memory. Others suggest they were storage facilities, built to safeguard resources or artifacts during a global cataclysm. Ancient texts from North Africa and Mesopotamia speak of refuges beneath the sands, constructed to survive the wrath of the gods, descriptions that eerily match the placement of these buried anomalies. Technological advances now allow us to look deeper than ever before, but with each discovery comes hesitation. The Sahara's buried chambers are not easily accessible. Excavation is nearly impossible due to the constant movement of dunes and extreme conditions. Even more unsettling are the stories from expeditions that tried. Unofficial reports tell of equipment failures, compasses spinning wildly, and GPS systems malfunctioning near the detected sites. Some explorers claim to hear low-frequency vibrations beneath the sand, like a deep hum that grew stronger at night. Scientists dismiss such accounts as atmospheric distortion or psychological effects of isolation, yet they persist, repeating across different research teams separated by decades. There is also the question of preservation. Some scholars argue that opening these chambers could destroy delicate artifacts or disturb unknown ecosystems sealed for thousands of years. Others fear that whatever lies beneath the desert was intentionally hidden and should remain that way. The balance between discovery and restraint becomes more complex the deeper we look. In the rush to reveal the past, humanity risks repeating its oldest mistake, believing that understanding equals control. Still, curiosity drives us forward. The Sahara has swallowed civilizations whole. Carthaginian outposts, Roman trade routes, and ancient oases all lost to sand. Yet even in its silence, the desert keeps a record. What satellites now glimpse from orbit may be the first hint of a forgotten chapter in human history, one that predates all written memory. A civilization advanced enough to build underground vaults designed to withstand millennia of shifting sands would not have vanished without reason. Perhaps they foresaw a disaster. Perhaps they hid their wisdom beneath the earth, waiting for a time when humanity was capable or arrogant enough to uncover it again. The contrast between known history and hidden truth is as vast as the desert itself. Officially, the Sahara is a geological landscape shaped by wind and erosion, but through the eyes of those who seek deeper meaning, it is something far greater, a living archive buried under miles of sand, its pages sealed shut by time. The secret beneath the dunes may hold answers not just about where we came from, but about what was lost before history began. The question that remains is whether we are prepared to face what those buried chambers might reveal, or whether the desert's silence exists to protect us from the truth beneath its golden veil. In the jungles of Central America, where ancient ruins crumble beneath dense canopies and vines twist around forgotten stone, explorers have stumbled upon something that challenges every known timeline of human civilization. The dense rainforest of Guatemala, long thought to have revealed most of its archaeological secrets through Mayan temples and pyramids, has been recently remapped using LiDAR technology, a laser-based imaging system that can strip away layers of vegetation to expose hidden structures beneath. What appear to be mere hills or natural mounds have now been revealed as geometric foundations of an enormous lost city, one that dwarfs even the largest known Maya settlements. Beneath centuries of growth and decay, the jungle has hidden entire urban complexes connected by ancient causeways, waterways, and, most mysteriously, sealed chambers buried beneath temple-like platforms that no human has entered in millennia. The LiDAR scans, conducted between 2018 and 2024, revealed over 60,000 previously unknown structures stretching across more than 800 square miles. These findings force archaeologists to reconsider everything they thought they knew about Mesoamerican civilization. The Maya, once believed to be scattered tribal societies, now appear to have been part of a highly organized network, possibly an empire with a population rivaling that of ancient Egypt or Rome. But amid the awe came unease. Certain anomalies detected under thick jungle layers didn't align with known Mayan construction methods. Beneath some temples, vast underground voids appeared, some extending hundreds of feet below ground, their entrances sealed by colossal stone slabs. No inscriptions marked these places, and no tombs or burial offerings were found nearby, unusual for structures built with such precision and effort. Local legends speak of the chambers of the sleeping gods, places forbidden to enter because they were said to contain forces or relics not meant for the living. Anthropologists have long dismissed these tales as mythic exaggerations. Yet as excavations advanced, researchers began to find strange materials unlike anything typical of Mayan stonework. Crystalline fragments embedded in the walls, metal traces where none should exist, and magnetic distortions that cause compasses to fail within proximity. Such phenomena led to a haunting possibility that these chambers predated even the Maya themselves, remnants of civilization that came before recorded Mesoamerican history. In 2021, a small team of researchers from a private foundation attempted to access one of these sealed vaults deep in the Petén Basin. Their expedition was never officially sanctioned, and most of their findings were kept confidential. According to leaked field notes, the team used ground-penetrating radar to identify a chamber 30 meters beneath a collapsed pyramid mound. When they drilled a narrow borehole to insert a camera probe, they encountered something unexpected, a metallic reflection that distorted the camera feed, followed by sudden mechanical failure. The probe sensors reported an ambient temperature far below surrounding Earth levels, as if the chamber was artificially cooled. The team withdrew, citing safety concerns, but internal communication logs later revealed that 2 members experienced intense auditory hallucinations, whisper-like sounds that ceased once they left the site. Officially, the Guatemalan government dismissed the report, calling an equipment anomaly exaggerated by speculation. But those who analyzed the raw LiDAR data noticed something the officials did not comment on. The underground complex's alignment corresponded exactly with the constellation Orion, a pattern found across countless ancient sites worldwide. How could 2 civilizations, separated by oceans and millennia, construct monuments according to the same celestial blueprint? Either this was a coincidence on an impossible scale, or both inherited knowledge from a common, forgotten source. The jungle, in its vastness, has protected these secrets well. Unlike the Egyptian pyramids, which stand exposed to the desert's erosion, Central America's temples are swallowed by life itself, vines, roots, and centuries of rainfall. Nature guards them, and perhaps that is why their mysteries endure. Some explorers claim that entering these jungles at certain locations causes electronic devices to fail, as if an invisible field interferes with modern technology. Others recount seeing faint blue glows under the ground during nights of high humidity, similar to bioluminescent reactions, though no biological explanation fits such occurrences. It is as if the earth itself is alive with memory, and certain places still pulse with the energy of a past the world has forgotten. What makes the discovery even more confounding is the presence of inscriptions in some peripheral sites, written in languages not identified as pure Mayan. Linguists have noted symbols resembling Proto-Sumerian or even Egyptian hieroglyphic forms. If authentic, these would imply cultural contact that defies known history. Mainstream academia avoids such claims, often labeling them as pseudo-archaeology. But a few brave researchers have begun to question whether the ancient world was far more interconnected than we've been taught, that knowledge, architecture, and belief systems were shared through lost civilizations long before our modern idea of first contact. Further excavations uncovered something else: petrified organic material found inside sealed tunnels, carbon dated to over 12,000 years ago, long before the emergence of the classical Maya. The results were quietly suppressed after funding for the research was abruptly withdrawn. Rumors spread that the recovered samples were confiscated by an international team connected to a private institution specializing in ancient technology. Some whistleblowers claimed that the samples contained traces of alloys or materials unknown to prehistoric metallurgy. Official reports, however, only mention natural contamination. The deeper one looks, the more the story begins to fracture. On one side stands the established academic view, that the jungle's hidden chambers are simply early prototypes of Mayan architecture, left unfinished or collapsed by time. On the other side lies a growing belief that what hides beneath the Central American canopy is not merely Mayan, but something older, a civilization erased by global catastrophe, perhaps the same flood or climatic upheaval described in myths across the world. The chambers, if ever opened, might contain records of that era, tools, knowledge, or artifacts meant to survive humanity's last reset. In recent years, several independent researchers have petitioned to re-examine the LiDAR data, but access has become increasingly restricted. Some suspect this is due to government oversight. Others believe private corporations now hold exclusive rights to exploration in those regions. What could be so sensitive about ancient ruins that their data must remain classified? Perhaps what was discovered beneath the jungle isn't just history, but technology or evidence of an intelligence that operated outside known human development. Still, the allure persists. The jungle hums with unseen life, and every sound, every echo in the dark, feels like a message from an age before our own. Beneath the green labyrinth, under roots that have woven themselves through centuries, the sealed chambers remain untouched, holding whatever truth they were built to protect. Are they tombs of kings, vaults of forgotten gods, or repositories of knowledge meant for an age yet to come? The contrast is clear. The official narrative presents a mind world as a product of gradual cultural evolution, a story of human ingenuity within isolation. But beneath the foliage lies another truth, one that hints at contact, preservation, and deliberate concealment. The jungle doesn't just hide ruins. It hides intention. It hides the story of those who came before and the lengths they took to ensure their legacy survived unseen. In the deep silence of the rainforest, humanity's lost memory sleeps beneath stone and soil, waiting for the courage or the foolishness of someone willing to break the seal of time itself. Deep beneath the icy vastness of Antarctica lies a mystery so profound it has challenged scientists, historians, and even governments for decades. What most people see as an endless sheet of white, stretching the horizon, conceals something extraordinary. Entire landscapes buried under miles of ice, including mountains, lakes, and vast subglacial formations that defy geological logic. For years, satellite imagery and radar scans have hinted at anomalies, immense rectangular patterns, symmetrical depressions, and heat signatures deep beneath the frozen continent. Officially, they're described as natural geological formations. But some experts whisper another theory. These are the remnant of ancient structures, possibly the oldest on Earth, preserved perfectly under the ice for tens of thousands of years. The first clues emerged in the late 1950s, when Operation Deep Freeze, a U.S. military mission to establish bases in Antarctica, began to record unusual readings beneath the ice. Subsurface radar showed vast caverns that couldn't be explained by standard glacial formations. In 1961, one report mentioned a hollow region beneath the eastern plateau spanning nearly 300 miles, large enough to contain a city. The data was classified, and a location never publicly revealed. Decades later, when satellite mapping became available to civilians, the same coordinates showed magnetic anomalies, distortions so strong they caused instruments to malfunction. Researchers claimed it was due to mineral deposits or ancient meteorite impact zones. Yet others suggested something more deliberate, that these distortions were the result of buried metallic or artificial materials, shielded beneath layers of compacted ice. In 2016, a team from NASA's Ice Bridge program detected an immense heat source emanating from 2 miles below the surface near Marie Birdland. It wasn't volcanic activity. The heat signature was steady, constant, and unnaturally geometric in distribution. To this day, no one can fully explain it. Scientists propose that geothermal vents might be trapped under the ice. But the shape of the heat field, a perfect rectangular zone extending for several kilometers, didn't match any known natural formation. Soon after, satellite photos began circulating online, showing what appeared to be the edges of massive door-like openings at the base of several mountain ridges. Some images were later removed or blurred from public databases. The official explanation was simple: digital artifacts, tricks of light and shadow. Yet, to those who study forbidden archaeology, these anomalies seemed anything but random. The idea that Antarctica might have once been habitable is no longer far-fetched. Geological evidence shows that millions of years ago, the continent was lush and temperate, covered in forests and rivers. Fossilized leaves, pollen, and even dinosaur remains have been found beneath the ice. But what if the continent was home to intelligent life far more recently? Some researchers believe that before the last pole shift or cataclysmic ice age, parts of Antarctica were ice-free and inhabited by a highly advanced civilization, one that either perished in the sudden freeze or deliberately retreated beneath the surface, sealing their structures in ice to preserve them. Myths from around the world curiously reference such an event. The Sumerians wrote of a land beyond the frozen seas, where gods retreated after teaching humanity the arts of civilization. Ancient Egyptian texts speak of a place called the White Island, home of the first gods, lost beneath eternal frost. Even the Hopi and Polynesian oral traditions describe ancestors coming from a great frozen land at the dawn of time. These myths, scattered across continents, seem to converge on one idea: that something ancient and intelligent once existed at the bottom of the world, long before modern civilization began. A few whistleblowers, former military pilots and satellite technicians, have claimed that certain areas of Antarctica are permanently off-limits to civilian research. They describe massive no-fly zones and private expeditions mysteriously denied permits. According to them, international treaties about the preservation of Antarctica for scientific purposes are convenient cover for something deeper, a global agreement to conceal what truly lies there. In 2002, a high-ranking government official visiting an Antarctic research station allegedly requested a private flight over a restricted zone near the Beardmore Glacier. Within weeks, he fell ill and was airlifted out of the continent, never to speak publicly about his experience. These stories are unverified, but their persistence adds to the eerie aura surrounding the continent's hidden regions. Further fueling intrigue are the discoveries of subglacial lakes, liquid water bodies trapped under miles of ice. Lake Vostok, one of the largest, has been sealed off in the atmosphere for over 15 million years. When Russian scientists drilled into it in 2012, they found traces of microscopic organisms completely unlike anything else on Earth. Some believe this isolation could also preserve larger, more complex remnants, relics of a time before the Ice Age. The samples retrieved were quickly secured, and only partial reports were released. Rumors soon emerged that the team had encountered something unexpected, structures or artifacts embedded in the ice, leading to unexplained delays and sudden communication blackouts during their operation. If these underground chambers and formations are truly artificial, the question arises, who built them, and for what purpose? Some fringe theorists argue that Antarctica might have been the cradle of a forgotten global civilization, one that existed during a period when the Earth's poles were positioned differently. Others speculate that these could be remnants of an advanced pre-human species, or even non-human intelligence that sought refuge beneath the ice to survive some ancient cataclysm. Whatever the case, the alignment of certain anomalies under the ice with star patterns like Orion and Sirius suggests a degree of astronomical precision beyond chance. Modern scanning technologies continue to peel back the ice layer by layer, revealing mountain ranges, perfectly symmetrical ridges, and voids too consistent to be random. Yet, despite these advances, access remains heavily restricted. Every year, new discoveries are made, and just as quickly, their details vanish into classified archives. Some suspect that what has been found beneath Antarctica challenges not just our understanding of history, but the very timeline of human existence itself. If it were proven that intelligent beings inhabited the continent before the ice, the implications would be staggering. History would need to be rewritten, and every myth of lost lands and hidden gods would suddenly take on a terrifying new truth. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of all is not the possibility that something lies buried beneath the ice, but that it might not be entirely dormant. Certain geothermal readings show localized pulses of heat, as though something beneath is active, generating energy, or even alive in some form. Could it be that what sleeps under the Antarctic ice was never truly dead, but merely waiting? If so, the decision to drill deeper might not just unearth the past. It could awaken something the world is not ready to face. Official science maintains its cautious stance, insisting the anomalies are natural, the heat is geological, and the patterns are coincidental. Yet, the silence surrounding certain regions and the sudden classification of research results suggest otherwise. In the cold heart of the planet, beneath miles of frozen time, lie structures and secrets no one has entered for millennia. The contrast between the known and the hidden has never been sharper. A world of sterile ice above, and perhaps a world of ancient intelligence below. Antarctica, long thought lifeless and remote, may in truth be the most guarded repository of human or pre-human history on Earth. Deep beneath the endless sands of Egypt, beyond the reach of tourists and far from the light of the sun, there are places even archaeologists whisper about an unease. The Great Pyramid of Giza has been studied, measured, and mapped for centuries, yet despite the countless theories about its construction and purpose, there remains one question that refuses to die. What still lies hidden inside? For decades, rumors have circulated about secret chambers, rooms sealed since the dawn of civilization, never touched by modern hands. In recent years, new scanning technologies have confirmed that these whispers may hold truth. Using cosmic ray muon tomography, Scientists have detected vast hollow spaces deep within the pyramid structure, chambers whose size and shape do not match any known corridors or tombs. These voids, perfectly concealed within the stone, have remained untouched for over 4,000 years. Some researchers believe they could contain lost relics, unknown inscriptions, or evidence of something far greater than a pharaoh's burial site. The discovery, announced in 2017 and later expanded by advanced 3D scans in the 2020s, revealed a cavity larger than the Grand Gallery, one of the pyramid's most mysterious internal passages. This great void, as it can be called, lies in a region that cannot be accessed by any known tunnel. At first, Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities downplayed the finding, calling it a natural cavity or an architectural flaw. But several physicists involved in the project disagreed. The symmetry of the space, they said, was deliberate. Its alignment perfectly matched celestial coordinates, specifically the Belt of Orion, long associated with the afterlife and resurrection in ancient Egyptian cosmology. This correlation echoed older theories that the Great Pyramid was not merely a tomb, but a machine of transformation, a structure built to harness the energy of the stars themselves. For decades, Egyptologists insisted that every chamber inside the Great Pyramid had been discovered, but these new voids, along with unexplained temperature anomalies detected along the pyramid's northern face, told another story. Infrared thermography showed heat differences, suggesting hidden passageways behind massive blocks. One anomaly, near the pyramid's base, corresponded to an ancient legend about a gate of the sun, a portal said to lead into the Hall of Records, where the knowledge of a lost civilization was stored. These legends, recorded by Greek historians like Herodotus and later echoed by mystics such as Edgar Cayce, describe an underground complex beneath the Sphinx and the pyramids, sealed chambers holding not gold, but history itself. In 2022, a Japanese-French research collaboration used advanced endoscopic cameras to probe one of the smaller voids behind a northern entrance. What they found deepened the mystery. The inner surfaces of the cavity were smooth, as though polished by hand, yet showed no tool marks. Strange metallic residues coated the walls, substances unlike anything found in other pyramid chambers. Even more peculiar was the acoustic property of the space. When sound was emitted, it resonated at frequencies consistent with precise harmonic ratios, suggesting intentional design for sound manipulation. Was this space meant for ritual, for energy transmission, or for something we no longer understand? The question remains unanswered. Legends from ancient Egypt tell of the hidden chambers of Thoth, a network of secret vaults buried beneath the pyramids where sacred texts and relics of the gods were safeguarded before a great cataclysm. The priests who built them were said to have encoded their locations into the geometry of the monuments themselves. Many dismiss these as myths, but the mathematical precision of the pyramids has long hinted at a purpose beyond mere burial. The ratios of its dimensions encode constants like pi and phi, numbers deeply tied to universal harmony. When viewed from above, the pyramid aligns almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, an engineering feat that even modern architects struggle to explain. Could it be that these chambers were never meant to be found by ordinary means, but instead by those who could decode the pyramid's hidden language? Excavations around the Sphinx compound have added new layers to the mystery. In 1997, ground-penetrating radar detected a large rectangular cavity beneath the Sphinx's right paw, roughly 30 feet underground. Initial studies confirmed the presence of hollow spaces, yet no official excavation followed. For years, speculation mounted that the government was intentionally withholding exploration to avoid controversy or looting. Then, in 2024, a team of engineers conducting structural stability tests detected faint vibrations emanating from deep within the ground, subsonic frequencies that appeared to pulse in rhythm with seismic activity from miles away. Some theorists propose that these were natural vibrations. Others suggested they were remnants of ancient technology, still resonating after thousands of years. If these hidden chambers are eventually open, what might they reveal? Some believe they contain the true tomb of Khufu, still sealed from human eyes. Others think they hold something far more dangerous, records of a pre-dynastic civilization with knowledge that could rewrite history. Ancient Egyptian texts like the Pyramid texts and the Book of the Dead speak repeatedly of the secret ways, paths that lead not only to the afterlife but to the source of all creation. What if those words were not purely spiritual but literal, directions to a mechanism or energy source buried deep within the stone? Several modern researchers have begun to speculate that the pyramids were constructed using techniques we still do not fully understand, methods involving resonance, magnetism, or even sound levitation. If true, then the hidden chambers could hold the devices or instructions for such technology. It's no wonder that every new discovery beneath Giza is met with immediate secrecy. Reports vanish. Scans are classified. Foreign researchers are denied access. The closer one gets to the truth, the harder it becomes to see. Those who have worked inside the pyramid often describe a feeling that defies explanation, a sense of vibration not audible but felt like a pulse moving through the stone. Some say it is the weight of history pressing in. Others suspect it is something else, something alive within the monument itself. The ancient Egyptians called the pyramids Ak, a word meaning both light and spirit. Perhaps the pyramids were not tombs, but vessels, machines built to preserve or awaken consciousness, designed to interact with forces we have long forgotten. The contrast between accepted history and the whispers of hidden truth could not be more striking. Officially, the Great Pyramid is a tomb built for a king's eternal rest. Yet every scan, every unexplained void, and every suppressed discovery points towards something far more complex, a structure built not for death, but for preservation, perhaps even communication. If these sealed chambers are ever opened, we may find that the oldest structure on Earth still holds a heartbeat, and that its builders left behind not just a monument, but a message. The question that remains is whether humanity is ready to hear it. Far beneath the quiet valleys of Cappadocia, Turkey, lies a labyrinth so vast it stretches through the earth like veins of forgotten history. This is Derinkuyu, an underground city capable of housing tens of thousands of people, hidden beneath layers of volcanic rock. For centuries, it was thought to be merely a refuge, a shelter used by early Christians fleeing persecution. But new explorations and deeper scans suggest that Derinkuyu, and others like it scattered across the Anatolian plateau, are far older than recorded civilization itself. Beneath its carved walls and air shafts may lie traces of forgotten age, and deeper still, sealed tunnels that have remained untouched for millennia. Discovered by accident in 1963, when a local man knocked down a wall in his basement, Derinkuyu's discovery shocked archaeologists. It wasn't just a few chambers. It was an entire city, descending over 280 feet underground, complete with kitchens, stables, schools, and massive stone doors that could be rolled shut from the inside. Its architecture was astonishingly sophisticated. The ventilation system, consisting of more than 50 shafts, could circulate fresh air even to the lowest levels. For decades, scholars debated who could have built such a complex structure and why. The earliest evidence of habitation dated back to around 8,000 years ago, long before any known culture in the region had the tools or knowledge to carve through solid rock with such precision. As archaeologists mapped the city's depths, they found narrow tunnels leading even further down, tunnels that remained sealed by rubble and debris, as if intentionally blocked. According to local legends passed down through generations, these lower levels were the forbidden chambers, where the old ones had something sacred or dangerous before vanishing from the surface. The Turkish government, after limited excavation in the 1980s, abruptly halted deeper exploration, citing safety concerns. Yet insiders claimed there were other reasons, including reported equipment failure, electrical interference, and a persistent humming noise recorded in the lowest accessible corridors. Modern technology had begun to uncover what human excavation could not. In 2013, ground-penetrating radar revealed that Derinkuyu was not an isolated structure at all. Beneath the soft volcanic rock of Cappadocia, hundreds of tunnels snake across miles, connecting multiple underground settlements, Kemakli, Ozganak, Tatlarin, forming what appears to be an enormous subterranean network. Some of these tunnels measure more than 5 miles long. The precision of their design suggests centralized planning, not random excavation. This network would have required not just engineering knowledge, but collective effort spanning generations. Or perhaps, as some researchers suggest, it was the work of a civilization capable of technologies we have yet to understand. What's most haunting is how these ancient cities mirror myths found across the world. Sumerian tablets speak of gods who descended into the earth after a great flood. The Hopi Indians tell their ancestors emerging from underground cities after the world was destroyed by fire. Even Plato's writings on Atlantis describe survivors escaping to hidden places beneath the mountains. Could Derinkuyu and its sister cities be remnants of that era, refuges built by a civilization preparing for global catastrophe? Geological evidence supports that around 12,000 years ago, massive climate shifts occurred due to comet impacts or solar events, aligning with the abrupt end of the Ice Age. If humanity once faced near extinction, perhaps these vast underground networks were not simply shelters, but arks designed to preserve life and knowledge through the storm. The scale of Derinkuyu defies simple explanation. Some passages lead nowhere, ending abruptly in sealed stone, as though doors to hidden sections were intentionally closed. Others twist downward into the earth, narrowing to points that resist exploration. In one of the deepest accessible chambers, explorers discovered scorch marks along the ceiling and traces of an unknown mineral fused into the rock, as if exposed to intense heat from an unnatural source. These findings contradict the idea of Derinkuyu being carved solely by hand. To create such structures, tools capable of melting or softening rock would have been required. Technology we do not attribute to ancient builders. A curious feature of the city is its acoustics. Even a whisper at one end of a corridor can be heard distinctly at another level. Some researchers suggest this design allowed communication between sections without physical contact, an ancient form of resonant architecture. Others think it may have served ritual or energetic purposes, channeling sound vibrations for unknown functions. The parallels to other ancient sites, from the echoing corridors of the Great Pyramid to the stone circles of Göbekli Tepe, are hard to ignore. All share mathematical precision and acoustic sensitivity that imply more than mere coincidence. The deeper tunnels, according to radar data, may descend far beyond what is currently mapped, possibly connecting to vast chambers buried beneath layers of solid basalt. Some claim these lower levels hold sealed rooms where strange metallic readings have been detected. Official statements dismiss these as geological anomalies, yet access to such areas has been quietly restricted. A handful of explorers who attempted to enter the unapproved shafts reported sudden dizziness, nausea, and disorientation, effects consistent with exposure to strong electromagnetic fields. Could these buried spaces contain ancient machinery still active, pulsing faint energy after thousands of years? Local Cappadocian folklore adds another layer to the mystery. Elders speak of a time when the sky burned, and people fled underground guided by voices from the earth. These stories describe beings of light who taught humans to survive below until the world cooled again. While these are treated as myths, they bear uncanny similarity to legends from far-flung cultures, stories of gods or star beings retreating beneath the earth until the surface was safe again. If so, Derinkuyu may not have been built by primitive refugees, but by descendants of those who carried knowledge from an age erased by cataclysm. To this day, only a fraction of the city is open to the public, its depths guarded by locked gates and unmarked barriers. Tourists see the upper chambers, neatly lit and safe, but few realize that below their feet stretch miles of sealed corridors leading into blackness. The government maintains that excavation is paused for safety, yet occasional reports emerge of quiet activity in restricted zones. Late-night drilling, foreign research teams, and unexplained shipments. Whatever lies beneath those final layers seems to remain of great interest, and perhaps great concern. In contrast to the accepted narrative that Derinkuyu was a refuge built in haste, the evidence paints another picture, one of deliberate design, ancient knowledge, and concealed purpose. Its engineering surpasses the needs of survival. It suggests preparation. It's as though the builders expected something catastrophic and planned not just to endure, but to preserve. The question remains, what did they hide in the lowest chambers, and who did they expect would return to find it? Perhaps those tunnels, sealed in silence of millennia, hold the key to a chapter of human history we were never meant to remember, a memory buried beneath the earth, waiting for those bold enough to descend and listen. In 2017, an international team of archaeologists stumbled upon something that shook the quiet desert sands of Egypt's western plateau. Near the Barrio oasis, beneath layers of shifting dunes, ground-penetrating radar revealed a structure far deeper than any known burial complex. The scan suggested a series of perfectly rectangular voids descending nearly 400 feet into the earth, far below the reach of ordinary tombs. When excavations began, the entrance appeared simple, a sloped shaft carved into limestone. But as the team ventured downward, they realized this was no ordinary tomb. The deeper they went, the air grew unnaturally cold, and the walls began to bear markings unlike traditional hieroglyphs. Strange, geometric patterns that glowed faintly under ultraviolet light. What they had found became known, quietly and unofficially, as the Lost Necropolis. This discovery contradicted everything historians believed about ancient Egyptian burial customs. The Great Pyramids and Valley of the Kings were designed to glorify rulers, monuments of eternal ascension toward the sun. But the Lost Necropolis descended into the opposite direction, into darkness, into silence. It seemed built not for remembrance, but for concealment. No royal names were inscribed. No symbols of Ra or Osiris decorated the walls. Instead, the passages were covered in symbols that appeared mathematical, repeating fractal-like sequences, spirals, and clusters of dots that seemed to map something astronomical. When translated using computer modeling, some of these patterns corresponded to star formations invisible to the naked eye in our current night sky, constellations that would only have been visible more than 10,000 years ago. Among the few artifacts found in the first chamber were clay tablets sealed within small stone boxes. Written in a script older than any known Egyptian language, they described a time of endless night, when the sky fell and fire devoured the lands. According to translations, the priests of the deep were chosen to descend and keep the breath of the gods alive beneath the earth. This chilling statement mirrored myths across cultures that spoke of global cataclysms and underground sanctuaries. If authentic, these writings suggested the necropolis was not built by the dynastic Egyptians at all, but by a forgotten culture that predated them, possibly the civilization that passed down the very knowledge the pharaohs later claimed as divine inheritance. Further exploration led to the discovery of vast halls supported by black basalt columns that shimmered with metallic flecks. The engineering was precise beyond comprehension. Despite thousands of years underground, the alignment of the pillars was within millimeters of perfect symmetry. When measured acoustically, the halls resonated at a frequency of 111 hertz, the same frequency that modern sound engineers use in meditative resonance chambers to induce altered states of consciousness. The builders clearly understood vibration and frequency not merely as physical phenomena, but as gateways to something metaphysical. In one chamber, researchers found what appeared to be a large sarcophagus carved from a single block of diorite, a stone so hard that even modern tools struggled to cut it, yet the edges were smooth as glass. When they opened it, it contained no human remains, only a fine black dust. Laboratory analysis showed the dust contained carbonized traces of unknown organic material, along with rare isotopes not naturally occurring on Earth's surface. The deeper levels of the necropolis proved even more disturbing. One section, labeled Chamber of the Veiled Eyes by the team, was lined with dozens of oval recesses, empty niches that appeared designed to hold human-sized figures standing upright. The walls bore a single recurring glyph resembling an eye encased within a spiral. One of the archaeologists, Dr. Karim El Hassan, theorized that these were not burial chambers but stasis rooms, places designed to preserve or conceal something living or once living. He compared the structure's design to modern cryogenic facilities. However, after El Hassan's remarks leaked to the media, he was abruptly removed from the project, and all official records of his work were sealed by Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities. Soon after, the site was declared off-limits to the public, allegedly due to unstable geology. Yet local workers reported heavy night activity, trucks arriving without license plates, unmarked equipment being lowered into the shafts, and foreign personnel speaking English, Russian, and German. Satellite imagery confirmed that new excavation zones appeared over the following months. Though no official reports acknowledged them, it was as if the discovery of the necropolis had become classified, its true nature hidden from global attention. What makes this story even more fascinating is how it connects to the Great Pyramid itself. Several researchers now propose that the necropolis was part of a vast network extending beneath the Giza Plateau. Seismic imaging in the early 2000s had already hinted at deep cavities below the Sphinx and the pyramids. If the lost necropolis connects to these chambers, it could rewrite human history, suggesting that Egypt's iconic monuments were not built in isolation, but atop a far older civilization's ruins. The Egyptians may have inherited sacred architecture that once served a purpose beyond worship, perhaps preservation, perhaps protection. Ancient texts such as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Lament of Hermes speak cryptically of those who sleep beneath until the stars return to their place. For centuries, scholars dismissed these as metaphors of spiritual rebirth. But what if they were literal descriptions of the beings or guardians sealed within these subterranean halls? If the necropolis was designed to contain entities or technologies from a lost epoch, its existence would explain Egypt's obsession with death, rebirth, and the journey through the underworld. The myths of the Duat, the shadowy realm beneath the earth, may not be spiritual allegories, but cultural echoes of real subterranean sanctuaries like this one. Interestingly, similar discoveries have been made far from Egypt. In 2019, deep radar scans beneath the Andes revealed massive underground cavities aligned with pre-Incan temples. These also contain mineral signatures nearly identical to those from the necropolis site. Such parallels suggest a shared origin, a global civilization that once retreated beneath the surface after some catastrophic event. If this is true, the lost necropolis may represent one of the last surviving portals to that forgotten network. To this day, no independent researcher has been permitted to re-enter the site. Photographs taken before the lockdown show only a fraction of what lies within. Corridors vanishing into darkness, walls that seem to hum faintly, and the remnants of an ancient technology that modern science cannot fully explain. Officials insist that no sealed chambers remain unexplored, yet satellite anomalies continue to appear, showing rectangular voids extending deeper each year. Whether these chambers hold the remnants of a lost civilization, an ancient technology, or something altogether beyond human understanding, one thing is certain. Egypt still guards secrets buried not in sand, but in stone and silence. And so, the lost necropolis remains the greatest enigma beneath the land of the pharaohs, a place where history turns to myth, and myth whispers of something far older than Egypt itself. Beneath the timeless gaze of the desert, the sealed doors still wait, their secrets untouched for thousands of years, echoing the same question that haunts every explorer who dares to dig too deep. Were these chambers built to remember or to hide? Deep beneath the frozen landscape of Antarctica lies a mystery so vast that even satellite images have been censored or blurred to conceal it. In 2018, scientists from several research stations near the Queen Maud Land region detected anomalous heat signatures radiating from beneath nearly 2 miles of solid ice. The readings were too concentrated to be volcanic, yet too organized to be natural. When ground-penetrating radar was deployed, it revealed something staggering, an immense structure buried deep within the ice, roughly pyramid-shaped, with geometric angles too precise to be random formations. Its symmetry, spanning nearly half a mile at the base, resembled proportions of the Great Pyramid of Giza. But this one wasn't built on the desert sands. It was entombed in ice that predates human civilization. At first, mainstream scientists dismissed the discovery as a geological illusion, a mountain formed by glacial pressure. But classified documents later leaked by military contractors suggested a different truth. In 2002, a covert multinational expedition under the guise of climate research had already explored the site. Using thermal drills, they penetrated a shaft leading into what appeared to be a cavernous interior. Inside, they found walls composed not of rock, but a metallic compound that resisted all attempts at sampling. The material emitted faint electromagnetic pulses, rhythmic and deliberate, as if it were alive or functioning at a level beyond comprehension. After only 72 hours, the expedition was ordered to withdraw. The official explanation was equipment malfunction. Yet several crew members reportedly suffered from disorientation, hallucinations, and rapid drops in body temperature, as though something within the structure interfered with human physiology. Satellite data indicates that the region's magnetic field behaves abnormally, bending inward as though drawn toward the buried structure. This phenomenon mirrors smaller anomalies found above known ancient sites, including Giza, Machu Picchu, and Göbekli Tepe, suggesting that these monuments might share not only purpose, but also an underlying energetic network. Some researchers propose that the Antarctic pyramid may not be a building at all, but a vast technological device, a relic from a time when the Earth's poles were free of ice and home to an advanced civilization. Geological studies confirm that Antarctica was once temperate, covered in rivers and forests, before an abrupt shift froze around 12,000 years ago, the same time frame associated with the sudden disappearance of multiple ancient cultures. A declassified CIA report from the Cold War era described a massive subsurface anomaly in the same region, referred to cryptically as Station 211. The document mentioned ancient tunnels extending deep beneath the ice shelf, some large enough to accommodate vehicles the size of modern submarines. Whistleblowers later claimed that remnants of pre-human architecture had been found there, not ruins in the conventional sense, but something preserved perfectly, as if time itself had stopped. If true, this would suggest Antarctica hides a city or an ark, frozen in a moment of catastrophe. What makes this discovery even more unsettling are the legends that seem to predict it. Nearly every ancient culture spoke of a lost civilization at the bottom of the world. The Greeks called it Hyperborea, the land beyond the north wind, while Hindu texts mention Atala, a hidden continent of advanced beings beneath the Earth's poles. In esoteric lore, these myths describe survivors of a global flood who fled to the end of the world, taking their knowledge with them. Could Antarctica be their final refuge? Their chamber preservation? Modern ice core samples provide intriguing clues. Layers taken from more than 2 miles deep contain microscopic traces of soot, as if immense fires once raged across the continent before it froze. Beneath that layer, isotopic data reveal the presence of minerals not found elsewhere on Earth's surface, including metallic nanoparticles arranged in ordered lattice formations. Such structures are not naturally occurring. They are manufactured. This means that long before ice engulfed the region, someone or something was shaping matter with atomic precision. In 2019, a team of Russian scientists at Vostok Station reportedly drilled into a vast subglacial cavity and detected rhythmic sonar echoes, not unlike those produced by machinery. After that, their communication ceased for 3 weeks. When contact was finally reestablished, the official statement claimed a technical breakdown. However, leaked internal reports described unidentified subsonic emissions and unexplainable equipment loss. Soon after, the site was closed off by military order, and every researcher involved was reassigned or transferred. The event was quietly buried in bureaucratic language, but rumors spread that the team had breached an ancient structure, possibly part of the same complex scene in the Queen Maud Land anomaly. The implications are staggering. If a technological civilization existed in Antarctica before it froze, then human history would have to be rewritten. Some theorists argue that it might have been the cradle of the so-called Atlantean epoch, a culture that mastered energy manipulation, frequency control, and architecture on a planetary scale. The sudden freezing of the continent could have been the result of a cosmic catastrophe, a pole shift, solar flare, or even deliberate self-sealing mechanism to protect whatever lay beneath. The pyramids we see scattered across Earth could have been signal beacons or energy converters linked to this buried hub, their alignment maintaining planetary balance. Interestingly, during NASA's Ice Bridge mission in 2016, strange radio echoes were recorded below the Antarctic surface that repeated at exact intervals. The patterns resembled binary code. When converted into sound frequencies, they formed harmonic sequences similar to those found in ancient chants and resonance chambers across ancient temples. Coincidence, or the remnants of an ancient communication system still faintly pulsing beneath miles of ice? Eyewitness accounts from military personnel stationed nearby tell of aurora-like lights glowing beneath the ice during magnetic storms, and of unmarked aircraft circling the region during night hours. Though officially denied, satellite images captured brief flashes of light and geometric shadows beneath the surface before being removed from public databases. These clues suggest that the site remains under ongoing observation, perhaps excavation, by entities beyond public awareness. What lies buried beneath Antarctica could change everything we know about human origin, energy, and civilization. Yet every attempt to uncover the truth is met with silence, restriction, or disappearance. Whether it's a city, a machine, or a vault holding the legacy of a forgotten age, one thing is clear. Someone wanted to remain hidden, and as the ice continues to melt each year, revealing more of what was once entombed, the day may come when the world is forced to confront what sleeps beneath. If these secret chambers truly exist, they have not been entered for tens of thousands of years. And perhaps, as ancient prophecies warn, they were sealed not to protect what's inside from us, but to protect us from what's inside. In the dense jungles of South America, far from the tourist trails of Machu Picchu or the known Incan ruins, lies a place whispered about in local legends, La Cueva de los Dioses, the Cave of the Gods. For centuries, it was dismissed as folklore, a myth told by Quechua tribes about a subterranean temple that no one who entered ever returned from. But in 1996, satellite scans from a Peruvian geological survey detected a perfectly symmetrical void beneath a mountain range near the Ecuadorian border. The cavity extended nearly a mile long and plunged hundreds of feet deep, with passages radiating outward like the spokes of a wheel. When explorers finally located the entrance, hidden behind a waterfall and sealed by mineral deposits, they realized they had found something extraordinary, an artificial chamber carved with such precision that even laser measurements couldn't find a single deviation from perfect geometry. The first explorers described walls so smooth they reflected torchlight like glass. Strange metallic veins ran to the rock, glowing faintly in the dark when touched. The air inside was unnaturally cool, and the acoustics produced harmonic tones from the smallest sound, as if the chamber itself was alive. On the floor lay a mosaic of gold and lapis lazuli, depicting a map of the stars, but not as they appear today. The constellations were shifted, aligned to a sky that would have existed around 10,500 BCE. That same era appears repeatedly across ancient monuments, from the Sphinx to the Göbekli Tepe Temple, as if civilizations across the globe were marking something significant in the heavens. As the team ventured deeper, they discovered massive stone doors that appeared to be fused shut, their seams lined with black crystalline substance. Attempts to break through were futile. Even diamond-tipped drills dulled instantly against the material. One archaeologist described it as rock that remembers. High-frequency scanners revealed cavities behind the sealed doors, suggesting chambers filled with metallic objects arranged in perfect spirals. But before they could continue, the Peruvian government abruptly halted the excavation, citing the need to preserve cultural heritage. The site was locked down, guarded, and its location reclassified. Only fragments of reports and blurry photographs survived, leaked by team members before being silenced by non-disclosure agreements. What makes La Cueva de los Dioses even more enigmatic are the myths surrounding it. Indigenous lore speaks of beings called Viracocha, pale-skinned visitors who emerged from the doorways of light after a great flood. They were said to have brought knowledge, mathematics, and the power to speak to the stars. The cave, according to legend, was where these beings descended back into the earth when their time on the surface was over. It was not a tomb. It was a portal, a passage between worlds. When Spanish chroniclers arrived in the 16th century, they recorded native accounts of metal doors that hummed when the sun rose. The conquistadors searched for these doors, believing they led to gold. None ever found them. In 1971, decades before the satellite discovery, Argentine explorer Juan Morich claimed to have entered a similar underground system in Ecuador, which he called the Metal Library. He described tunnels extending for miles, with walls lined by sheets of engraved metal containing unknown symbols. His photographs, later confiscated, showed structures identical to those now found in La Cueva de los Dioses. Could these two sites be connected, part of a vast subterranean network stretching across the Andes? Some researchers believe these were the last refuges of an antediluvian civilization that fled underground to escape a global cataclysm. If true, then La Cueva de los Dioses may hold not only artifacts, but records of humanity's forgotten past. One of the strangest phenomena reported by early explorers was a low-frequency vibration that pulsed through the floor at regular intervals. Sensitive instruments recorded electromagnetic waves synchronized with Earth's Schumann resonance, the natural frequency of the planet. It was as if the chamber itself was tuned to the heartbeat of the Earth. When sound frequencies were introduced, such as chanting or the striking of metal tools, the walls emitted faint harmonics, resonating like an enormous tuning fork. Modern scientists studying the effects suggested the structure could have been designed to amplify energy or even serve as a communication interface between distant points on the planet. Even more mysterious was the discovery of a small crystalline sphere embedded in the central altar. It emitted a soft blue luminescence and reacted to human touch by increasing its glow. Analysis later revealed it was not glass, quartz, or any known mineral. Its atomic lattice was arranged in a pattern unseen in natural materials. After this discovery, the object was quietly taken to a government facility, and the cave's entrance was permanently sealed under guise of environmental protection. Officially, it does not exist. What little evidence remains continues to baffle researchers. The geometry, the resonance, the stellar alignments, all point toward an intelligence with knowledge far beyond what ancient cultures are credited with. Some theorists propose that La Cueva de los Dioses was not built by humans at all, but inherited by them, a remnant of civilization that may have originated elsewhere, perhaps even off-world. Others suggest it was a spiritual device, a place where consciousness and energy converge, a literal gateway of the gods. Today, access to the site is forbidden. Satellite imagery shows signs of ongoing excavation despite government denials. Heavy machinery tracks, newly exposed rock layers, and faint heat signatures at night. Locals report hearing deep mechanical sounds echoing from beneath the earth like distant thunder. Those who live near the area say their compasses spin erratically and electronics fail without explanation. Whatever is happening inside that mountain remains hidden from the world, sealed behind walls that have stood untouched for over 10,000 years. Perhaps the legends are true. Perhaps the gods never left. They simply went beneath the earth, waiting for the right time to return. And if La Cueva de los Dioses truly connects to the global network of secret chambers, from Egypt to Turkey to Antarctica, then the world we think we know is merely the surface of something far greater, an ancient design that still hums beneath our feet, whispering a forgotten past that refuses to stay buried. In 2003, a mining operation deep in the Bayan Kara Mountains of central China uncovered something that should not have existed. Workers drilling into a quartz-rich plateau struck an enormous hollow cavity. When explorers descended into the newly opened shaft, they found a vast domed chamber, perfectly circular, its walls smooth as glass, as if the rock had been melted rather than carved. Embedded within the walls were dozens of metallic discs, each roughly 12 inches wide, arranged in concentric spirals. The discs were engraved with delicate microscopic grooves, so fine that they could only be seen under magnification. The discovery quickly drew the attention of Chinese authorities, who classified the site and sealed it within days. Only a few photographs and scattered testimonies from the workers ever surfaced. This place would later be known in whispers as the Cave of the Dropa Discs. Legends among the local Bayan Kara tribe spoke of small, star-born people who descended from the sky thousands of years ago when their ship crashed among the mountains. These beings, called the Dropa, were said to have lived peacefully among early humans until disease or isolation wiped them out. At first, archaeologists dismissed the story as myth, but the discs found in that mountain seemed to mirror those legends perfectly. They were later analyzed in secret by a small team of researchers at Beijing University, who discovered something astonishing. The grooves on the discs were not random markings but encoded data. When translated into digital format, they formed rhythmic patterns consistent with sound frequencies, as if the discs contained recorded information, perhaps even audio. One of the researchers, Professor Tsumunui, claimed to have partially decoded fragments of the message. According to his unpublished notes, the discs told of beings who came from a distant star system after their spacecraft malfunctioned. They sought refuge on Earth and built underground shelters to protect themselves from hostile conditions. His report, however, was ridiculed by the academic community and suppressed shortly after publication. Professor Tsum disappeared not long after, and all official mention of the Dropa project was erased from archives. Yet, whispers persisted that at least a dozen of the metallic discs were quietly transferred to a secret facility near Xi'an, the same region where the Terracotta Army guards the tomb of China's first emperor. What connects the Dropa discs to the greater mystery of ancient hidden chambers is their material composition. Laboratory tests revealed they were made from a combination of cobalt and silicon, elements found naturally but not in such precise, crystalline bond. More puzzling was their ability to generate an electrical charge when exposed to alternating frequencies of sound. In other words, they responded to vibration. They were living archives of some kind, designed to be read through resonance, not sight. The implication was profound. Whoever created them understood not just metallurgy, but quantum vibration, the idea that information and energy can coexist within the same medium. When word of the Dropa discovery leaked into Western circles, comparisons were drawn to other anomalous artifacts, such as the Sumerian bag of the gods' carvings or the discs of the Dogon tribes, both of which also reference beings descending from the stars. The patterns on the Dropa discs, when analyzed using sound wave modeling, matched the harmonic ratios found in ancient architecture worldwide, from Stonehenge to the Great Pyramid. It was as if these civilizations were all operating on the same frequency blueprint, guided by a knowledge that transcended continents and time. In 2011, a leaked radar scan showed that beneath the original discovery site, there were additional layers, vast tunnels extending miles to the mountain, each containing metallic anomalies similar to the discs. Some experts speculated that these tunnels were not mines or natural caves, but the remnants of a buried facility. The Chinese government denied any ongoing excavation, yet satellite imagery captured consistent heat signatures from the area, suggesting active equipment or machinery beneath the surface. Witnesses reported hearing low mechanical hums during the night, vibrations that could be felt through the ground. Local villagers told stories of blue lights appearing above the mountains during storms, lights that moved in patterns too deliberate to be lightning. They claimed that when thunder echoed across the peaks, the ground seemed to answer with its own rhythm, as though something beneath was awakening. A handful of independent researchers who attempted to reach the site vanished without trace, their GPS equipment last transmitting near restricted military zones. To this day, access to the Bayan Kara region remains heavily controlled, and all geological data from the area is sealed under state secrecy. If the Dropa discs truly contain information, the question remains, what kind of message did they hold? Were they a record of a civilization that predated ours, or a warning left behind for those who would come after? The recurring theme in the translated fragment speaks of return, awakening, and guardianship. It describes the children of the sky, who descended when the world was young and slept beneath the mountain until the stars realigned. This language is eerily similar to myths from Egypt, Sumer, and the Andes, all describing godlike beings retreating underground or to hidden sanctuaries until a time of renewal. The Dropa mystery bridges a boundary between archaeology and cosmic possibility. It challenges the linear story of human evolution and hints at an interconnected past where knowledge, technology, and energy resonated across the planet, like a forgotten symphony. If these discs were part of a network, devices linked to other chambers across the globe, then perhaps they served as communication nodes, keeping civilizations connected even after catastrophe. And if they still respond to sound today, perhaps they are not just relics of the past, but remnants of a system that still listens, still waits for a signal that will one day wake it from silence. Some say the mountain still hums on windless nights, a deep pulse that seems almost alive, as though the memory of the Dropa still lingers beneath stone and time, whispering from the secret chambers no one has entered in millennia. In 1974, while digging a well near Xi'an in the Shaanxi province of China, a group of farmers made one of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries in human history: the terracotta army. Thousands of life-size clay soldiers stood buried in perfect formation, guarding the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. Yet, beneath the official narrative lies a shadowed layer of mystery, one that suggests the emperor's true purpose for building the mausoleum was far beyond the realm of human power or legacy. The terracotta army, it seems, may have been protecting something not merely royal, but otherworldly. According to ancient Chinese chronicles like the Shiji, records of the grand historian, Qin Shi Huang believed he was chosen by celestial forces. His obsession with immortality drove him to send expeditions in search of the islands of the immortals, where beings from the heavens were said to dwell. Historians have often dismissed these tales as myth, yet fragments of unearthed scrolls recovered near the emperor's tomb describe visitors descended from the sky in burning chariots, who taught the early Chinese the art of metallurgy and sacred geometry, the same geometric patterns found encoded in the layout of the mausoleum. The entire complex was constructed to mirror a cosmic map, with the central burial chamber representing the pole star and the surrounding corridors forming constellations. When modern ground-penetrating radar was used to scan beneath the emperor's tomb, researchers discovered a strange anomaly, a metallic dome-shaped structure buried deep under the central chamber. Unlike any known Chinese architectural material, the structure appeared to emit residual electromagnetic readings. Scientists were not permitted to dig further. The Chinese government immediately halted deeper excavation, citing concerns about preservation. However, some insiders whispered that the real reason was different. The dome was not made of clay, bronze, or stone, but of an unknown alloy resistant to corrosion and vibration, as it designed to shield or contain something immense. The first emperor's burial chamber itself was said to contain rivers of mercury, a substance ancient Chinese alchemists associated with the divine essence of the gods. Recent soil tests around the tomb confirmed extremely high levels of mercury vapor, suggesting the ancient texts were accurate. But why would an emperor fill his tomb with a toxic metal, unless it served a greater purpose? Some researchers believe the mercury was not symbolic at all but functional, acting as a conductor in a vast underground energy circuit. If this were true, the entire mausoleum complex could have been a kind of energy grid, channeling electromagnetic resonance into the buried dome. An obscure document known as the Chronicle of the Golden Dragon, allegedly written during the Han Dynasty, references a chamber beneath the feet of the first emperor where the voice of the stars was sealed. The phrase has baffled scholars, but when compared with other global myths, such as the Sumerian Tablets of Destiny or the Egyptian Hall of Records, it evokes the same motif: knowledge from the heavens buried beneath the earth to protect humanity from premature use. In 1998, a team of Chinese engineers working on a subway expansion near Xi'an accidentally breached an uncharted tunnel leading toward the tomb's perimeter. They described finding walls of smooth black stone inscribed with symbols resembling circuit patterns, geometric grids that shimmered faintly under artificial light. Before their report could be published, the area was sealed by military authorities, and all involved were reportedly transferred. A few leaked photos, later authenticated by independent experts, showed lines and curves eerily similar to microcircuit designs, leading some to suspect that the tomb's purpose was not funerary at all, but technological. Another theory connects the mausoleum to the Dropa civilization discovered in the Bayankara Mountains. Several of the Dropa discs recovered decades earlier were found to emit harmonic frequencies when placed near high mercury environments. This led certain fringe researchers to speculate that the first emperor may have possessed one of these artifacts, perhaps gifted or inherited, and that his entire underground complex was built as a containment or amplification system for it. If the dome beneath his tomb was a vessel, could it be that it houses the very relic that once linked the ancient sky people to Earth? Interestingly, the emperor's recorded dreams speak of metallic dragons descending from clouds and voices calling from beneath the earth. He was known to hold rituals where sound frequencies, produced by gongs and tuned stones, were played to resonate through the ground. It is believed these ceremonies were attempts to communicate with the hidden intelligences below, or to awaken whatever he believed was buried under his throne. What further deepens the enigma is that the layout of the terracotta army pits aligns perfectly with the Orion constellation when projected onto the sky, as it appeared in 210 BC, the year of the emperor's death. The central chamber aligns with Orion's belt, the same alignment seen in the pyramids of Giza. Across cultures separated by continents, the same stellar geometry appears, as if guided by a singular cosmic blueprint. Were these ancient rulers independently obsessed with the same celestial origins, or were they all responding to knowledge inherited from an older, forgotten world? Some claim that the mercury within the tomb is not dormant, that under specific conditions it still reacts, creating subtle vibrations measurable on seismographs. Local villagers report that during certain nights, especially under a full moon, faint low-frequency hums emanate from the ground near the emperor's mound. Scientists dismiss these as natural acoustic phenomena, yet the sound is rhythmic, pulsing, almost like a heartbeat of something vast and sleeping. What lies beneath the terracotta army may be more than the remains of an emperor. It could be a gateway, a sealed repository of technologies and knowledge far older than any recorded dynasty. If the legends are true, the first emperor did not merely seek immortality for himself, but attempted to bridge humanity and the stars, preserving the memory of the celestial visitors who shaped the earliest civilizations. Perhaps this is why no one has ever been allowed to open his tomb. Perhaps the Chinese government understands that disturbing what lies below could trigger forces, physical, energetic, or historical, that humanity is not ready to comprehend. Until that moment arrives, the Emperor and his silent army will continue their eternal watch, guarding the threshold between history and something far beyond it, something ancient and waiting beneath the soil of Xi'an. In the frozen wastelands of Antarctica, where the temperature can fall below anything survivable, there lies a mystery so immense that even governments tread carefully around it. Beneath layers of ice older than human civilization, satellite radar has detected massive geometric anomalies. Patterns too symmetrical to be natural, too vast to have been created by modern machines. The discovery, first made public through leaked satellite imagery in 2016, hinted at something extraordinary. Buried structures stretching for miles under the Antarctic plateau. To the untrained eye, they look like mountains or fissures. But to those who examine the data closely, they resembled walls, corridors, and domes, as if a city had been frozen in time beneath the ice for tens of thousands of years. Antarctica was not always a barren wasteland. Geological studies confirm that millions of years ago, it was a green, temperate land with rivers, forests, and an ecosystem capable of supporting life. But new evidence suggests that advanced human-like activity may have existed there long before the first civilizations rose in Mesopotamia or Egypt. Ancient maps, like the Piri-Reis chart from 1513, show an ice-free Antarctica with strikingly accurate coastlines, something impossible to know before satellite imaging, unless the map was copied from far older sources. Historians have long debated its origins, but the precision implies access to knowledge from a lost civilization that once saw the continent before it was buried by ice. In 2002, a multinational research mission drilled deep into the ice near Lake Vostok, a massive subglacial body of water sealed for over 15 million years. When scientists reached the lake's surface, their instruments began to malfunction. They recorded unexplained electromagnetic pulses emanating from the depths. The drilling was abruptly halted, and all findings were classified. Rumors spread among the scientific community that strange microbial forms, and possibly even structures, had been detected beneath the ice sheet. Some of the crew members later described feeling an invisible vibration in the ground, as if something beneath them was active, not dead. A few years later, U.S. and Russian satellite sensors picked up an anomaly beneath a section of the ice near the Transantarctic Mountains, a perfect circular heat signature roughly 200 meters below the surface. The formation's diameter measured nearly half a mile. Though the official explanation labeled it as geothermal activity, insiders claim it corresponded to a massive metallic object, a dome-like structure, smooth and reflective, unlike any natural geological form. Even more intriguing was its composition. Radar reflections suggested a material density not found in known terrestrial alloys. Some have speculated that this could be a remnant of a prehistoric civilization, while others propose something far older, perhaps non-human. What makes Antarctica's secret chambers even more mysterious is the web of secrecy surrounding expeditions to the continent. In 2018, several researchers affiliated with private organizations attempted to reach one of the restricted zones, but were intercepted by military aircraft and forced to turn back. Satellite imagery from that same region was later censored, replaced by digital snow patterns. Why, in a land officially dedicated to peaceful research under the Antarctic Treaty, would access be so tightly controlled? What could possibly lie beneath the ice that requires such global cooperation to keep hidden? There are fragments of ancient myth that might offer clues. Nearly every major civilization, from the Egyptians to the Mayans, from the Sumerians to the Hopi, speaks of a land at the bottom of the world or a white continent where gods or teachers once dwelled before a great cataclysm forced them to retreat underground. Some stories describe it as the original cradle of civilization, a place of blinding light and eternal cold. Others call it the entrance to Agartha, the fabled inner world where advanced beings took refuge when surface humanity fell into chaos. What if Antarctica is not just a frozen desert, but a burial shroud over the remains of this hidden realm? In 2019, Thermal imaging data gathered by European satellites revealed long linear heat streaks running beneath a region of ice near the South Pole. The formations were aligned in precise 90-degree angles, unmistakably artificial. Scientists were baffled. There were no geological processes that could naturally produce such symmetrical heat distributions. The discovery reignited speculation that massive subterranean tunnels or chambers could exist, possibly maintained by residual energy sources still functioning after thousands of years. A classified UN briefing, leaked later that year, mentioned possible non-natural voids of extreme scale beneath the ice shelf, a statement quietly removed from the record days later. Even more bizarre are the accounts from military personnel stationed in the area. One retired pilot claimed that during a classified reconnaissance flight in 1996, his radar detected a void the size of Manhattan beneath the ice. When his aircraft briefly passed over it, all navigation systems failed, and crew experienced severe disorientation. Upon returning, their instruments had recorded electromagnetic interference in frequencies unknown to modern technology. They were ordered never to speak of the event again. In recent years, several whistleblowers have hinted that deep drilling operations conducted under guise of climate research were, in reality, attempts to access these voids. Some claim that the teams encountered not empty caverns, but sealed chambers, carved walls of black basalt, impenetrable and smooth as glass. When sonic equipment was used to test their thickness, the sound waves did not reflect back, as though the structures absorbed all resonance entirely. To geologists, this was impossible. To others, it suggested materials or technologies far beyond human understanding. If these chambers truly exist, they might represent the last physical evidence of a pre-ice age civilization, one advanced enough to manipulate energy, geometry, and perhaps even matter itself. The freezing of the continent could have been no accident, but a deliberate act, an environmental seal designed to preserve or imprison something. Could be that Antarctica's ice is not merely nature's doing, but part of an ancient containment system? Every new piece of evidence points toward a buried secret waiting patiently under the miles of ice. Governments deny, satellites censor, and scientists are silenced, yet the anomalies remain. The question is not whether something lies beneath, but why the world is not allowed to see it. Perhaps the most chilling possibility is that the secret chambers of Antarctica have not been forgotten. They are being guarded. And if the ice ever melts enough to reveal them, humanity may find that we were never the first intelligent beings to walk this planet, only the most recent to inherit its hidden past. Far beneath the shifting dunes of Sahara Desert, where the sand stretched endlessly like an ocean of gold, lies a buried landscape that defies every conventional notion of history. Satellite imaging has revealed vast circular patterns, geometric alignments, and subsurface anomalies, structures invisible to naked eye but unmistakably artificial when viewed from space. Known to researchers as the Eye of the Sahara or the Rick-Hatch structure, this colossal formation spans over 25 miles in diameter. Officially, geologists explain it as a natural dome eroded over millions of years. But ancient texts and recent evidence whisper of another story, one that suggests this was once the heart of a lost civilization, a city swallowed by the desert long before recorded time. The legend of Atlantis has been told and retold across millennia, often dismissed as allegory. Yet, many of Plato's descriptions, a circular city divided by water and land, surrounded by mountains to the north and open plains to the south, match the layout of the Rick-Hatch structure with astonishing precision. Satellite mapping even shows traces of ancient waterways once flowing around it, as if the entire region had been submerged and later fossilized in sand. If this site truly marks the resting place of the fabled civilization, then the secret chambers buried beneath it may hold the last remnants of society that once wielded knowledge capable of reshaping the world. In 2018, a team of independent researchers conducted a ground-penetrating radar survey near the Rick-Hatch Structure Center. The data revealed hollow voids beneath the surface, symmetrical, evenly spaced, and forming a pattern that mirrored the city described by Plato. One chamber, larger than a cathedral, appeared to lie nearly 60 feet underground, sealed by dense limestone. The researchers noted that the readings suggested metallic signatures within the voids, not ore or debris, but refined alloys consistent with advanced construction. When they attempted to continue the survey, local authorities unexpectedly revoked their permits, and their data was confiscated. It was as though someone did not want those chambers explored. The indigenous Berber tribes of the Sahara have preserved oral histories far older than written language. They speak of a time when the sands were not yet born, when the great ones of light built shining cities across the desert. These beings, they say, vanished after a storm of fire and water swallowed their world. Some stories even describe round palaces made of smooth stone and tunnels that descended into the belly of the earth. For generations, the elders warned against digging in certain places, the sleeping grounds of the gods. To them, the desert silence was not emptiness, but warning. What added the haunting dimension to these tales is that magnetic readings across the Sahara show localized fluctuations, regions where compasses spin erratically and instruments malfunction. The largest of these anomalies is centered precisely around the Rickhat structure. Scientists have struggled to explain it, theorizing about meteor impacts or subsurface volcanic activity. Yet, there are no traces of impact debris, nor any evidence of volcanic rock. Instead, the anomaly behaves more like an artificial electromagnetic field, as if something deep beneath the surface still pulses faintly with energy. In the early 2000s, a French archaeological team exploring a cave network near Mauritania discovered carvings that seemed to depict the eye itself, concentric circles with figures emerging from the center. But more curious were the inscriptions beneath them, pictograms showing humanoid shapes holding orbs and rods emitting rays of light. The carvings were carbon dated to over 12,000 years ago, placing them squarely within the era when Plato claimed Atlantis sank. Scholars initially dismissed the connection as coincidence, but the symbols resemble those found in ancient Sumerian temples and Egyptian tombs, cultures separated by time and geography, yet apparently echoing a shared origin. Some researchers have suggested that these chambers beneath the Sahara may not be tombs or storage vaults but repositories, memory archives of forgotten civilization. If a cataclysm once destroyed their world, the survivors might have sealed away their knowledge in structures designed to withstand millennia of erosion, sandstorms, and neglect. The design of the Rickhat structure itself, circular and concentric, could have been more than symbolic. It may have functioned as an enormous energy field, channeling natural currents through underground conduits to preserve its contents. Modern radar has identified linear anomalies extending outward from the formation, like spokes of a wheel, leading to distant points across North Africa. Could these have been ancient corridors or tunnels connecting once-linked cities? The possibility grows even stranger when compared to geological studies suggesting that beneath the Sahara lies a vast aquifer system, underground rivers and lakes spanning thousands of miles. These could easily conceal submerged chambers or entire complexes. If such structures exist, they have likely been sealed off by time, protected by the same sands that erased their surface cities. Some ancient Egyptian texts refer to a land of the West, a sacred place where the gods descended after the flood. The Egyptians believed their ancestors came from that direction, bringing wisdom, language, and architecture. Perhaps their origin was not mythological after all, but historical, rooted in the ruins now hidden under the desert's veil. In 2019, high-resolution scans taken by European Space Agency satellites showed faint, rectangular impressions near the northern rim of the Rickhat structure, dimensions matching large stone foundations. Despite repeated requests for open excavation, the region remains tightly controlled. Classified as an ecological preservation zone, access requires government and military clearance. The restriction only deepens the mystery. Why protect an area believed to be nothing more than a geological oddity? Unless, of course, it isn't. When the wind sweeps across the Sahara at dusk, the sands seem to sing, low, resonant tones that ripple across the dunes like the hum of buried machines. To scientists, these are the singing sands caused by friction between granules. But to the few who have listened closely, the sound feels rhythmic, deliberate, almost like the echo of something vast stirring beneath. Could these vibrations be remnants of energy flowing through structures below, relics of technology designed to communicate across time? If the Sahara once held the seat of an ancient civilization, then its buried chambers may contain the final record of who they were, and perhaps what destroyed them. The desert, in its silence, guards its secret well. Every grain of sand that conceals those ruins is a fragment of history deliberately erased. The ancients may have buried their knowledge not out of fear of nature, but fear of humanity's future misuse. Until those chambers are uncovered, the truth of the Sahara's hidden heart remains locked away, a secret too immense for the modern world to yet comprehend. Deep in the dense jungles of South America, beneath centuries of overgrowth and silence, lies one of the most enigmatic mysteries ever unearthed: the hidden chambers beneath the lost city of the Amazon. Known in fragments through local legend as Z, this mythical place was long dismissed as a fantasy born of explorers' obsession. Yet in recent decades, satellite scans, LiDAR mapping, and indigenous testimony have converged to suggest that something very real and astonishingly ancient lies buried beneath the rainforest canopy. What was once considered myth may, in truth, be the shattered memory of a civilization far older and more advanced than anyone imagined. When British explorer Percy Fawcett disappeared in 1925 while searching for the lost city he called Z, the world assumed he was consumed by madness or the jungle itself. But Fawcett's journals told a different story, one of strange stone inscriptions, unnatural geometric mounds, and tales from tribes who spoke of a city of gold that pulsed with light at night. He claimed that deep beneath its temples were tunnels leading to the heart of the earth, guarded by spirits that punished the unworthy. At the time, no one believed him. The Amazon was thought to be a barren wilderness, incapable of supporting complex civilization. Yet in the 21st century, LiDAR technology has revealed what Fawcett could only sense: vast networks of roads, plazas, and buried architecture stretching across thousands of miles, suggesting a sophisticated culture that thrived where only emptiness was once assumed. Among the most shocking discoveries was made in 2019, when researchers from Brazil and Finland mapped an area of the Amazon the size of Wales, uncovering more than 25 previously unknown settlements connected by straight, elevated roads. These formations were aligned perfectly with solar and lunar cycles, an astronomical precision impossible for primitive jungle tribes. Buried beneath some of these mounds, radar imaging revealed cavernous hollows, chambers that emitted faint magnetic signatures, as though lined with metal or conductive stone. When teams tried to dig, their equipment malfunctioned. Compasses spun, drones lost signal, and local shamans warned them that the ground is alive and must not be disturbed. Indigenous oral traditions across the Amazon speak of the beings of the inner sun, luminous entities who once walked among humans, teaching them agriculture, astronomy, and medicine before retreating underground after a great flood. Some tribes called them the Caruana, others the Chulachaki. Their temples, it is said, were built as entrances to their underworld, not the realm of the dead, but of the gods. When these stories are compared with legends from other parts of the world, such as the subterranean Agarth of Asia or the Duat of Egypt, an eerie resonance emerges. The recurring belief that beneath the earth lies a world of immense wisdom and power, concealed from those not ready to wield it. In 2021, a controversial expedition sponsored by a private foundation secretly entered a restricted region of the upper Xingu River Basin. Using advanced scanning drones, they detected a massive circular anomaly buried 200 feet below the surface, composed of dense, reflective material unlike any known natural formation. The reading suggested a dome-like structure, roughly half a kilometer wide, encased in what appeared to be hardened basalt. The team believed they had located one of the forbidden chambers described in Fawcett's lost letters. But before they could dig, a government order forced them to withdraw, citing environmental protection. The data was confiscated. Weeks later, several members of the team reported unusual symptoms: dizziness, ringing in the ears, and intense electromagnetic exposure, even though they had not broken ground. Some believe this dome is part of an ancient network that extends beneath the entire continent, linking sacred sites from the Andes to the Amazon basin. The Incas, who revered caves as portals to the underworld, spoke of Chincana, great labyrinths that led to the halls of the Shining Ones. In Peru's Cusco region, similar tunnels have been discovered under the Sacsayhuaman fortress, so deep that early explorers vanished trying to map them. The Amazonian chamber, if connected, could represent a southern terminus of this forgotten network, a system built by a civilization that understood the Earth's magnetic structure better than we do today. Even more curious are the artifacts occasionally found near these sites: small, black stone discs engraved with spirals and geometric patterns. Some of them hum softly when exposed to electric currents, as if reacting to energy. Researchers from a university in Sao Paulo who analyzed the stones found traces of crystalline structures not found in any regional geology. Were these relics of lost technology? Perhaps part of an energy system that once powered the hidden chambers? The jungle itself seems to protect these places. Attempts to approach them are often thwarted by sudden storms, equipment failures, or illness among crew members. Indigenous guides speak of guardians, unseen forces that repel outsiders. To scientists, these are coincidences or the result of harsh natural conditions. But to those who listen to the whispers of the forest, the message is clear. The chambers do not wish to be opened. What fascinates researchers most is the apparent connection between these Amazonian ruins and myths from distant lands. Carvings found on buried pillars show figures identical to those found in Sumerian reliefs. Humanoid beings with large eyes holding spheres or staffs. How could such identical imagery appear continents apart unless there was once a shared global knowledge? Some archaeologists now propose that the builders of these chambers may have been survivors of an even older cataclysm, perhaps the same one that sank Atlantis or reshaped the Sahara, who migrated inland and continued their legacy beneath the jungle canopy. When scientists analyzed soil samples around the suspected chamber site, they discovered traces of heavy metals arranged in strange, concentric patterns. These materials could not have formed naturally, suggesting deliberate placement, possibly as a form of shielding. Some theorize that the chamber may house an energy source or artifact emitting radiation or magnetic waves, explaining why electronics fail nearby. Others suggest it could contain records, devices, or objects that still function after thousands of years, preserved by the earth itself. As night falls over the jungle, the rainforest comes alive with a chorus of unseen life. But amid the sound of insects and frogs, explorers have reported another noise, a low, rhythmic pulse, like the beating of a giant heart beneath the ground. Instruments cannot detect it, yet those who hear it describe the same sensation. A vibration felt not in the ears, but in the bones. Whether this is geological or something far stranger remains unknown. Perhaps these buried halls of the Amazon are not merely ruins, but part of a larger, living mechanism, one that connects Earth's ancient civilizations through invisible networks of stone, magnetism, and memory. Fawcett once wrote that Z is not merely a city, but a message from the gods themselves. If he was right, the jungle's secret chambers may still be transmitting that message, waiting for a time when humanity is ready to understand what it truly means. Beneath the limestone ridges of Cappadocia, in modern-day Turkey, lies one of the most bewildering mysteries of the ancient world. The subterranean cities carved deep into the earth, stretching for miles below the surface. The most famous of these, the Ringu, descends over 280 feet and once housed more than 20,000 people, complete with stables, wineries, ventilation shafts, and even schools. Official archaeology tells us these vast underground complexes were carved by early Christians seeking refuge from Roman persecution. But the precision, engineering sophistication, and sheer scale of these chambers suggest something far older and far beyond the capabilities of the era to which they are attributed. The tunnels of Cappadocia seem less like shelters and more like something designed with deliberate purpose. The walls bear no soot marks, implying they were not lit with torches. Their ventilation shafts, thousands of them, are perfectly aligned, circulating air through multiple layers of the subterranean labyrinth. Engineers today struggle to explain how such a system could have been achieved with primitive tools. Some of the tunnels descend in perfectly straight shafts, spiraling downward with the smoothness of modern drilling. If these cities were truly built by ancient refugees, they must have possessed a knowledge of geology, architecture, and airflow far exceeding anything recorded in early human history. Local legends tell a different story. In Cappadocia, old families still speak of the people below, beings of light who lived in the earth long before humans arrived. According to the elders, these beings retreated underground after a great fire from the sky burned the world above. When humans later discovered the entrances, they merely expanded what was already there. Ancient Hittite tablets discovered nearby speak of gods who came from beneath the mountains and taught mankind the arts of metal and stone. To scholars, these myths are poetic metaphors, but to others, they may be fragments of a forgotten truth, that the underground cities of Cappadocia were not built as refuges from enemies above, but as sanctuaries from something even greater, a cosmic event or a force of nature so devastating it forced entire civilizations to hide beneath the ground. Modern geological analysis reveals that the Cappadocian stone, a type of soft volcanic tuff, could have been easily excavated. Yet maintaining structural stability in such deep chambers would have been impossible without advanced planning. The architect of these labyrinths seemed to understand the precise balance of weight and airflow required to prevent collapse. More mysteriously, some tunnels are sealed with giant circular stone doors, rolling slabs that can only be moved from the inside, suggesting defensive design. But against what? Ancient invaders? Or something non-human, something from the skies above or the depths below? In 1963, during renovations of a house in the town of Nevsur, a man accidentally broke through his basement wall, revealing a hidden passage that led to the rediscovery of Derinkuyu. As archaeologists explored deeper, they found rooms extending far beyond the limits of the town, interconnected with other underground cities through long tunnels. To this day, not all of these have been fully mapped. Some explorers have reported hearing faint mechanical hums deep below, as if the earth itself still remembers the vibration of ancient machinery. A few meters further down, instruments begin to malfunction. Compasses spin erratically, batteries drain without explanation, and sounds seem to echo longer than the physical walls should allow. In 1995, a small Turkish team exploring an uncharted section of the Kemakli network claimed to have discovered an enormous sealed chamber, a dome-like cavity lined with metallic sheen. When they attempted to open its stone entrance, the air inside shifted, triggering their equipment to fail. They described a low humming noise that continued for hours after they retreated. The area was later sealed by the authorities, reportedly due to safety concerns. No official record of this discovery exists, yet multiple witnesses from nearby villages confirmed seeing the team's equipment confiscated. Some believe this was one of the ancient forbidden chambers, a relic predating the known underground cities, perhaps built by the same mysterious culture that left its mark across the world. The layout of these subterranean complexes also holds cosmic significance. When mapped from above, the arrangement of the major Cappadocian cities, Derinkuyu, Kemakli, Azkanak, and Matsi, mirrors a constellation of Pleiades, a cluster of stars revered in nearly every ancient culture as a home of celestial beings. Could it be that the builders intended to mirror the heavens below the earth, creating an inverted map of the stars beneath their feet? This duality, as above, so below, recurs across ancient architecture worldwide, from the pyramids of Giza to the temples of Teotihuacan. Some ancient astronaut theorists have gone further, proposing that these underground systems were not merely dwellings but components of an enormous planetary grid, an energy network connecting sites of power across continents. The stone itself may have been chosen for its piezoelectric qualities, capable of conducting vibrational energy. The narrow tunnels, they argue, could have acted as conduits, channeling sound or frequency between chambers. Though mainstream science rejects such ideas, the persistent electromagnetic anomalies in the region remain unexplained. Adding to the mystery, old Armenian texts refer to a city of the hidden sun in the same region, described as a place where the air was sweet, the walls glowed with their own light, and time did not pass. Could this be a description of an ancient subterranean world powered by unknown technology? Or perhaps an allegory for a civilization that survived by retreating beneath the earth while the surface burned in catastrophe? Cappadocia's chambers, unlike the grand monuments of Egypt or the megaliths of South America, are not monuments of pride. They are structures of survival. Whatever the ancients faced, it was powerful enough to drive them underground for generations. Some researchers suggest a solar event, a meteor impact, or even a pole shift. Others believe the threat was of human origin, a war waged with forces so destructive that retreating below ground was the only path to preservation. Today, tourists wander through the upper levels of Derinkuyu, unaware that beneath their feet lies a network extending possibly hundreds of miles deeper. The government has sealed many lower passages, citing safety, but locals whisper that those who ventured too deep have not returned. The labyrinth continues to breathe, silent, waiting. And somewhere far below, Perhaps in the deepest, untouched levels lies the true heart of Cappadocia's mystery, a chamber not human design, but one that predates all recorded history, still humming softly in the dark, keeping a secret humanity has yet to remember. Deep in the jungles of Guatemala, buried beneath layers of vegetation and centuries of silence, lie the forgotten remnant of an ancient power, the lost chambers of Maya. Known for their towering pyramids and complex calendars, the Maya have long been seen as brilliant astronomers and mathematicians. But beneath the ruins of cities like Tikal and El Mirador, archaeologists have begun uncovering something far stranger: sealed tunnels, melted stone passages, and chambers that appear untouched for millennia. These are not ceremonial rooms or tombs. They are something different, places that seem to defy explanation, as they're constructed for purposes neither religious nor domestic. Some scholars call them voids of power. Others whisper they were designed to hold something the Maya feared, something they could not destroy, but only contain. In 2018, LiDAR technology, a laser-based mapping system that can penetrate jungle canopies, revealed over 60,000 previously unknown structures across northern Guatemala. Hidden among them were enormous underground networks stretching for miles. These subterranean grids connected temples, pyramids, and water reservoirs with precision reminiscent of modern urban planning. Yet, within these networks were sealed chambers with no apparent entrances, as if deliberately entombed by their builders. The official explanation claims these were storage rooms or unfinished construction zones. But the alignment of certain voids directly beneath astronomical observatories suggests a deeper intent. They were built to interact with the heavens, not to serve the needs of men. According to ancient inscriptions, the Maya believed their world was cyclical, that creation and destruction were eternal partners. Their texts speak of ages of fire and flood, of gods who descended from the sky, only to retreat into the earth when the world fell into chaos. In one inscription found in Copan, there is mention of a sealed gate where the stars breathe, a cryptic phrase some interpret as a reference to these buried chambers. The Maya word for these sacred spaces, Tzichin, means both cave and portal. To them, these were not places of burial, but gateways between worlds, entrances to the underworld known as the Balba, where gods and mortals cross paths. Yet, not all caves were meant to be entered. In the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Maya, the hero twins descend into Xibalba to confront the Lords of Darkness, a realm filled with trials and illusions. Some passages describe glowing stones, disembodied voices, and chambers that shifted shape as if alive. The parallels between myth and archaeology are unsettling. Explorers who have entered some of these ancient chambers report sensations of disorientation, nausea, and inexplicable fear. Equipment malfunctions are common. One research team in 2003 discovered a perfectly circular vault beneath a pyramid in El Mirador whose walls were smooth, almost metallic in sheen, and emitted a faint hum. When they tried to drill a small access hole, their tools overheated. The project was abruptly shut down and the area restricted. There's also the question of what the Maya were trying to preserve or protect humanity from. Some researchers believe the chambers were designed to house sacred relics or astronomical devices that could predict cosmic events. Others suggest they were built to contain something far more dangerous, remnants of a lost technology inherited from an older civilization. The Maya repeatedly reference beings known as those who came before the first dawn. These entities were said to speak through fire and build cities that move like the stars. To mainstream scholars, these are poetic metaphors. But to others, they describe an advanced culture that existed long before recorded time, perhaps the same civilization whose ruins lie beneath the seas or hidden under the sands of Egypt. A chilling discovery in 2019 added new weight to the mystery. Deep within a sealed chamber at the site of San Bartolo, archaeologists found murals depicting robed figures surrounding a glowing sphere suspended in midair. The sphere was painted with concentric circles resembling magnetic fields, and around it were glyphs translating to the heart of the world's breath. Scientists called it a symbolic representation of the sun. But the chamber's walls were lined with black, glass-like residue that could only be formed through extreme heat, hotter than any known ancient process. It's as if the chamber had once contained an energy source beyond comprehension. Today, satellite scans hint that more of these chambers remain undiscovered beneath the Guatemalan jungle, perhaps hundreds. Yet, Excavation is slow, restricted by both nature and politics. Local shamans warn against disturbing them, saying the sleeping ones must not be awakened. They believe these chambers mark the resting places of cosmic entities that once walked among humans, beings who promise a return when the stars align, as they once did thousands of years ago. To the modern world, these stories are myths, fragments of imagination born from a vanished civilization. But as technology uncovers more hidden structures, the line between myth and memory blurs. The Maya did not simply build temples to honor the heavens. They built gateways beneath the earth, reminders of forgotten partnership between humankind and forces far older than history itself. And perhaps, in the deepest chamber that no light has touched for thousands of years, that partnership still waits, sealed in silence, beneath the weight of the jungle and time itself.